First, let's get into the Boston Celtics here. Getting off to a hot start there with the 10-2 start, recently just beating the Toronto Raptors in a feisty game where the Celtics had to show a little bit more resilience down the line there, but they got it done. And just looking at the Boston Celtics so far to start this season, it's just the first thing you notice is the offense has opened up a little bit more with the three-point shooting and the spacing of Porzingis. As I mentioned in other videos previously, that he's just a little bit better than Al Horford, especially offensively. Well, not just a little bit better. A little bit more versatile offensively, but I think from the three-point line, he's better than Al Horford. And being able to shot block and just create spacing a little bit more there for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Him and Jaylen Brown have seemed to have a little bit more of a two-man game. Jaylen is confident when driving to find Porzingis out there on the perimeter and pass it to him to launch a three from three-point range. So that's good to see that little chemistry building up there, and especially with Jason Tatum there as well. And that tandem so far to start the season. Jason Tatum there with 27 points, 27.5 points per game, nearly 9 rebounds per game, nearly 4 assists per game. He's just continuing his all-NBA progression, right? Like we've seen Jason Tatum be that type of guy. And now we're seeing with the Celtics record in their pace of play, if he can become an MVP candidate and be in that conversation down the line. Obviously, it's too early to start in the season to say, even though Kevin Garnett has also said that he believes he's the best American player and the front runner for MVP so far to start the season. It's too early for me. It's way too early. We're not even a quarter way into the season. We still got about 10 more games to get there. But just looking at it from that standpoint, you're just seeing the growth of Jason Tatum and his continuation to be a superstar. Even when he's not shooting the ball really well, he's able to rebound, he's able to facilitate, he's able to do other things that even when he's in a shooting slump, that he can still affect the game in other ways to help his team win. And that's what I'm seeing from Jason Tatum so far. Jaylen Brown there, 22.9 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.3 assists. Looking at Jaylen Brown, obviously you're seeing the growth of his game, his aggressiveness in certain games. Of course, that's going to continue. And I think everyone's just going to be looking at his turnovers, which is only at 2.5 so far to start the season. Jason Tatum's a little bit higher than that. But looking at Jaylen Brown, I think that's the thing where people are going to look at him and say, hey, are you improving your ball handling? Are you turning over the ball a lot? Some games, yes. Some games, no. So that's going to be the thing that we look at Jaylen Brown throughout the rest of the season. And I think he has to adjust playing with Tatum and Porzingis. The addition of Porzingis, having a guy that can go out there and score to that nature, as well as Holiday and Derek White. I think Jaylen Brown has to find a way to fit in between all that. Obviously, he's the second leading scorer on the team, but just looking at it from the standpoint of him finding his niche early on in those couple games there to start the season, looked like he was trying to find his way. But so far, it looks like him and Porzingis have had a nice two-man game there, especially when those pick-and-roll situations or just looking for Porzingis on the perimeter when Porzingis is hunting around the three-point line for shots. So that has been a nice little sight for Jaylen Brown early on in the season. Looking on from that is just seeing how his ball handling, see if he can continue his playmaking. I think that's a point of emphasis that we want to see him doing that. And obviously having Porzingis there helps that. Having Derek White and Drew Holiday facilitate helps Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum able to float a little bit more, not have to carry the offense and pick their spots where the team desperately needs them. They can step up and do that, but also rely on other guys to step up and knock down shots, which we saw in Toronto as well. Moving on to Porzingis, what can we say about Porzingis? He's been excellent for the Boston Celtics. His ability to protect the rim, I think, is one of the things that the Celtics desperately needed, especially with Robert Williams not being there and being hurt last year. Al Horford, even though he does protect the rim, he has had issues with bigger guys controlling guards coming in, contesting shots of that nature. Porzingis can do that a little bit better. Obviously, spreading the floor has been the biggest asset to the Celtics, and especially not with just the additions of Derek White, Drew Holiday. Porzingis has really been able to stretch the floor and shoot well from three-point range. So those three guys have really been off to a good start, clicking also on all cylinders to start the season there for a 10-2 start. Moving on to the backcourt for the Boston Celtics, Derek White and Drew Holiday. Obviously, people are saying that they are the best defensive backcourt in the NBA. I agree with that. There have been some moments and lapses there where they have given up some runs in there over the course of games, but I think the flexibility with them to play both sides of the ball is the thing that separates them from last year's Celtics with Marcus Smart. And that's not a shot at Marcus Smart. It's just offensively, Drew Holiday is able to do a little more than what Marcus Smart could have done last season. And looking at it from that standpoint, that's where the Celtics' flexibility on the offensive end has been tremendous for them, especially being able to shoot the ball. I think that's one of the things the Celtics have put a point of emphasis on. They're leading the league in makes and attempts, which is a driving point wedge between Celtics fans. Some people like it, some people don't. And I personally like it because I think that you're getting good shots. You're not taking bad or forced threes. You're getting good shots from guys like Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Holiday, White, Hauser, who I'll talk about in a little bit, Horford. You're getting good shots and more often than not in those situations to shoot the three. But back to Derek White, who recently had the birth of his kid, and it was there in a little slump there, and we're all looking like, okay, is a shooting gone? And then he just starts hitting against Philadelphia. He has a big game. I believe he had 27 points, 28 points there in that game. Toronto knocks down a big shot to seal the game for the Celtics in that game just the other night. So seeing that consistency from Derek White, who's in a contract year, of course, but he's playing really well, being able to facilitate, shoot the ball really well. And I think that's something that the Celtics are banking on, is that Derek White is going to be able to shoot the ball like this and continue to do that throughout the season and into the playoffs. Looking at it from Drew Holiday's perspective, who has just been able to just fill in all the gaps for the Boston Celtics so far, I believe he's at 13 points per game. I didn't have it there at the bottom, but 7.6 rebounds, getting those loose balls, doing all the little things, the little intangible things that you need to win. And to have a high rebound rate, to have a good passing rate of that nature, and especially playing defense the way he is with Derek White and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you can't argue this is one of the best defensive teams in the league. And now you have the best defensive backcourt, where that first line of defense is every night, the ability to switch in those situations as well. The Celtics are in good position, especially with Drew Holiday and Derek White. I really like that backcourt tandem. They've been working really well. At first, it was like, who's going to do what? How is this going to work? Who's going to handle it? But it seems like they've been able to find a nice balance so far to start the season. Moving on to the bench, a pleasant surprise for the Boston Celtics has been Sam Hauser so far, roughly at nearly 10 points per game. 1 second here. Yeah, roughly at 10 points per game there, shooting 45% from three. And I said to somebody, the blueprint for Sam Hauser is Duncan Robinson in the bubble. That is the blueprint, a guy that can kind of hold up a little bit deep. Well, he's been able to hold up defensively a little bit more than Duncan Robinson in his career. But Sam Hauser is feisty on defense at least. But I'm like, if he's able to knock down shots to that degree of a Duncan Robinson when he was in the bubble, then we're good. And it seems like Sam Hauser has been trusted, has been able to build some type of consistency and confidence. And that's the one thing I want to see over the course of the season, is if he can be that guy consistently to step in and knock down threes for the Boston Celtics, especially giving Brown and Tatum a breather there throughout games and when he's really counted upon. And then you can run different lineups in certain situations, or if anybody's in foul trouble, Sam Hauser can come in and do his job and be able to knock down shots. So that has been a pleasant surprise, his ability to knock down shots so far to start the season. And especially when we've been looking for a guy off the bench to step up, and it looks like Sam Hauser's trying to fill that void. So kudos to him for that. Another guy I want to look at is Al Horford. And last season, I felt like he was getting exposed, especially with the amount of dependence that the Celtics had on him to be that frontline anchor for them, really wearing him down over the course of the playoffs, playing too many minutes, in my opinion. But this season has been on the minutes. It looks like a minutes restriction. It looks like if he's able to play that 20 to 25 minutes per game, the Celtics are going to be in good shape, especially when they have Porzingis there next to him. I would like another big on this team just to alleviate Al Horford a little bit more so we can have those couple nights off. Luke Cornett has been able to do a couple little things, has been able to have a couple good games, had a good game against Philly. But I just think another big option would be helpful there, even if it's not even a big. It can be a stretch forward or whatever the case may be, and see what Celtics can do there. From that standpoint, I just think that's good for Al Horford. Stay well, stay rested, being able to stretch the floor, being able to shoot the ball. We saw it in the Philly game when he was able to knock down some big shots in that game. So you're seeing that evolution of Al Horford being relegated to limit his minutes, more picking his spots, and I think that's good for Al Horford going forward. Now, looking at a guy that we thought was going to extend so far, take the next step, was Peyton Pritchard signing that extension before the offseason, before the start of the season. And looking at him, it looks like he's just trying to find his role in this offense, find his role on this team. And he's struggling shooting the ball right now, but you're just hoping that he gets out of whatever slump he is in right now, because I think the Celtics are really banking on him, that even when Derek White or Drew Holiday take a breather or whatever the case may be, he's able to come in and fill that void and still be able to facilitate and obviously knock down shots and able to get his own offense. So that's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do there. And I think that's the main thing for the Boston Celtics, seeing what guys are going to be able to consistently play. They're hoping that it's Hauser and Pritchard. We'll see how that goes. If those guys are able to continue to knock down shots and Pritchard's able to get out the slump, I think that's the main thing. But I think the Celtics are looking for those guys to help because they're going to need them. And you're going to need a bench. And I know people are looking around the league and saying, hey, a lot of teams don't have a bunch of good benches here. They might have a guy here or there. But I think the Celtics consistently need that, especially from a guy like Hauser, especially from a guy like Pritchard, and especially from a guy like Al Horford. It's interesting to see if Danton can get in, Bichette can get in, and see what happens if Jordan Walsh gets called up and is able to fill in some void there at some point during the season. So I think those are the two things that are the question marks. Who's going to be able to step up? And the one thing that I've seen so far to start the season for the Boston Celtics, they don't get to the line enough. I think they're in the bottom tier of getting to the line. I think they're only at 20 a game. I think it's in the last 5 of getting to the line. Now, that's the one thing that I think the Boston Celtics need to be able to do, get easier baskets and being able to get to the line. I feel like over in the long run, where people are not liking the three-point shooting, where people are not liking sometimes the stagnant offense that happens, the ability to get to the line. And I think that's going to be on Brown and Tatum. Hey, you guys got to get to the line. Yeah, we're getting all these open shots, but you guys got to be able to get to the line. And I think that's the one thing the Celtics are missing, just that consistency of controlling the game, is being able to get to the line, force fouls, and shoot efficiently from the line. I think that's the only thing, but I'm not going to complain about the Celtics. The Celtics are off to a good start. Well, let's look at their schedule here. 1 second, I had it pulled up here. They have the Grizzlies, the Hornets, the Bucks, the Magic. So I think the first meeting with the Bucks is right before Thanksgiving. So looking at that game right there, that's a big matchup that we're looking at, because Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo look like they're forming a good bond there, a good consistency there now. And that's going to be a good stretch for the Boston Celtics there. It's going to be interesting to see if the Celtics can continue this hot start, and seeing that big matchup that's happening on Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. So that's going to be awesome to see. Moving on to